something different today because, you know, it's in the US, it's Thanksgiving week. And so like Thursday, when I would normally have a video, I won't be having one because it's Thanksgiving. And I won't even do it on Friday because, so like when you have 9 kids and you have them all over the place, I have some in Indiana and some in town and then some down in Orange County. We're going to be driving down Wednesday night to Orange County. Pray for the traffic. I'll take all the traffic prayers I can get. Because we got a 2-lane highway for about 90 miles, and then we're on the 15, which is almost as bad as the 405. Think Atlanta on steroids, okay? And then on Friday, late, we'll come home, and Saturday, we're having Thanksgiving again. So there's just not going to be time, not just to do a video, but to also edit and upload and all that stuff among all the family stuff. And I think I'm going to try to play with Bookmas. I don't know. We'll see. I just know that like December 6th is when Clock Tower Bound is supposed to come out. So I will have the rest of the month where I have nothing. The podcast, we won't be having the podcast until January at that point. And so I'm just like, I want to play with that. So with all that stuff coming, I just thought, I'm not going to do it. But it is Thanksgiving week. And I thought, let's, you know, I'm not kidding. I came up with so many things. It's really kind of ridiculous. My slush pile of everything, I said, nah, is pretty huge. But we've got so much that we pack in our family in November. You know, it kind of kicks off with November 5th. That's number 1 grandson's birthday. And then November is like all about gratitude and Thanksgiving. And we keep everything fall until Thanksgiving night. And that usually is when number 4 daughter starts setting up all the Christmas village and everything. But until that clock rolls over and it's Black Friday, we don't really put up Christmas. But I have to admit, I have done some cleaning in here in the Shedifice. I actually got some footage of that. It'll probably end up in a video. But, you know, just, it's starting. You know, I can feel it coming. But I want to hold on to that gratitude and that focus on Thanksgiving. So I'm like, okay, so what about Thanksgiving? Being thankful for bookish things. All the bookish Thanksgiving. And I don't even know what to call it. I'm just like, I don't even know how many I'm going to do because I started to think stuff out and then I started to overthink. So I shut myself down. So here I am with absolutely no idea where I'm going to take this. And I'm really going to struggle and work hard to keep it short. No, seriously, I am going to try because, again, Thanksgiving, but then all this long intro for what, right? So I'm just going to throw out things that I can think of that I'm thankful for that have some sort of bookish, there's something connected with it. And some will probably be specifically this year. Some will be in general. We'll just see what I come up with, right? So first off, number 1, it was the first thing I thought of when I was trying to come up with stuff, you know, to make sure I had my plan, and then I decided I didn't want to plan right. First thing I came up with is I am really grateful not just to be living in America, but to be living in this time where we have such massive access to Bibles when there are parts of the world they don't have it. And I think part of this was like sparked by that Haven Seeker series by Amanda G. Stevens, where, you know, they rewrite the Bible, and if you have a real one, you're in trouble. You know, my brain keeps going to make sure you still remember, you know, the book of James and 1 Peter, so that if this day comes, you can at least write those out, right? My brain is still doing that because I can't. I'm going to guess I have at least 20, 30 Bibles of some sort. They may not be complete and total Bibles, but all the journals, the Journible, if you've never seen a Journible, I'll put a link to a couple of videos I have about them. They're just plain black I'm going to get it. Our Bible study, this is what we use. I had a few of the times where I didn't get my scribing done. So I'm still finishing up Revelation, although we've been done with that for a couple books. But anyway, so what Journible is on, I'll show a blank page first. On this side, you actually write the Bible, and on this side, they have questions you can't answer. They're super faded. Can you see how hard it is to see that? That's because you can just write over it and then you can't see the words if you want to just take your own notes. So it's really smart, but you just write it out. And so we're on Mark. And when we get done with Luke and John, we'll have done the entire New Testament in our Bible study where we've written them all. So, I have all of these as Bible, as well as multiple translations and all the stuff. And I'm grateful for it, because there was a time in history when just owning one would be illegal, much less, possible, and the expense, and the can you read? But I live in a time where not only can I own all these, but we have the internet. And if I want to look up something right now, I can, even if I'm not carrying a Bible with me. I've got my Bible Hub app, and I love it. So, and I'm not an app user usually, but even like today in church, JP said something, and we're in Revelation in church, and he was talking about the child, and my daughter next to me looked at me, and she's like, what's the Greek word there? And I don't know, because I hadn't opened it, and so she goes, and she's in church listening to him, looking up to check the Greek word. This is something that, I can't even imagine what the early church would have thought of, right? So number one thing, bookish thing that I'm grateful is definitely, that I'm grateful for is definitely living in an age where we have such, and a place, not just an age, because there are parts of the world this isn't true, but an age and a place where we have such rich access to scripture, and to people who are dedicated to studying it and searching for the oldest manuscripts and making sure that it's as accurate as possible. All those beautiful things. Really grateful for that. And related to it, making a mess. I'm really grateful for this Fall into Faith challenge. It's really not something I would have thought of until literally just now, but I'm really grateful for seeing where I'm wrong about things, because I've always kind of considered scripted prayers to be kind of an issue. They can become so rote, and they can just become mindless. Yeah, so can anything. And doing these every day for this challenge has been really eye-opening and strengthening. And I don't know. But it's not just that challenge. I am definitely grateful for that challenge, but I'm grateful for these types of challenges, because they do stretch you. They get you to read things you might not otherwise have read. Like the Jane Austen July, I might not have ever gotten the prayers of Jane Austen if not for that. And so, just that alone, those things are rich, and they're beautiful, and they really make you think, and they have taught me to pray in a new and enriching and stronger way. So, and fun things like Chantal Reads All Days, You've Got Mail readathon last year. I found books I had never read before that I loved because of that thing. And her Read Your Bookshelf challenge gets me to read what's on my shelf. This is a good thing. So, just all these little challenges and things, I'm really grateful for them. But in particular, in this particular moment, definitely this Fall into Faith, I've learned a lot from this book that I don't even like, this Matthew 24 Fulfilled. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and it really is making what JP's going through in Revelation making even more sense. And it's really funny, because I tend not to agree with JP on a lot of stuff. It's not how I've always seen it. Not always, but I've seen it in the last couple decades, But he is studying the word and he is trying to understand it and trying to show us what it's talking about. And I love that. And it's making me see, because he's going so close, it's making me see, even just after reading that book, where it connects with Matthew 24 in different ways. And sure, I may come to a different conclusion, but it's iron sharpening iron, and it's beautiful. And I would not have picked up that book. I've owned that book since 2002. 2002, I've owned that book and have only flipped through it. So it got me to pick up that book, read it. Do I like it? Do I like how it's written? No. But do I like what it's doing in me and how it's making me dig into the word? Absolutely. So challenges and the readathons and all those things, yeah, really, really grateful for it. Let's see, what else am I grateful for? There's so much. It's like trying to come up with it, right? For some reason, I am just so dry. I'm so thirsty. Well, okay. So I'm seeing my journal. I made us journals before myself and a couple friends, we went to England. We went to the Lake District in May, and then we went up to Skye. That's where I tangled with the pothole. But I made us journals, and I used mixed media paper and watercolor paper. I used those in this journal, and so that we can kind of journal our trip, right? But I also have like lots of notes in there. But I got to thinking about it. It's like, yeah, I'm really grateful for that trip. If my friend hadn't said, I want to go, do you want to come with me? I don't know that I would have ever left. I mean, I've always planned to go to Greece with my friend. I have a Greek friend who lives not too far from me. She's about 2.5 hours away or so. But she also has a home still in Greece. She's from Greece. And she has talked about me going and visiting with her. And I want to do that. But would I have ever gone to the trouble? Probably, but maybe not. But now that I've been to England, and I definitely want to go back to Scotland, and I want to spend more time in Scotland. Didn't get to see a lot of Scotland. I spent a lot of time elevating my foot and my knee on the couch. But, what can you say when you tangle with a pothole and lose? Just saying. But I got to thinking about it. It's like, that was a research trip for me. I've got lots of books planned because I went, and I realized I am just grateful that I can do that kind of thing. I've been blessed, not just with the resources, but with friends who will say, hey, come with me, do this with me. And I think I have a picture of me. They took a picture of me climbing back up in, I think it was by Tarn How. Pretty sure it was by Tarn How. And maybe I'll try to set it in here. But that trip, but it taught me so much about not just the area, but about different ways to research and different, I want to say different cultures, and it sounds weird because you've got the same language, and our culture is rooted a lot in English culture, but because we're such a melting pot, it isn't at the same time. And so it's kind of weird, but there is a definite different culture, and yet they're so closely related, and getting to see that in person, I'm grateful. That was a wonderful trip. I'm so glad I went. I'm even kind of glad that I got that injured. I mean, it sounds so weird to say it, but a lot of things happened because of that. And I'll probably tell the story of that some other time. It's a pretty funny story. But I got to see things in a way that I wouldn't have been able to if I had just been wandering around like usual. It made me slow down and focus, which was good. But also, just getting home, I don't know if we'd have made it. I would have made our flight if I hadn't had head of the line privileges, because we barely made it on the plane. And so, I mean, even something that minor, to mess up my knee and my ankle so that we can get home. Different legs, mind you. So I was literally, just gonna hop along here. But it was pretty funny. But, it's like, I'm grateful. It was just a wonderful trip. And I bought some wonderful books, and I get to write some wonderful books. They're going to be so much fun. They'll be wonderful for me, and I'm hoping that they'll be wonderful for someone else. But even if they're not, I got to experience church in a place that I told my daughter, I was like, I'm not going to agree with the theology. What's spoken, I'm probably going to disagree with. But I want to sit in a church where people have been praying for the last 300 to 500 years. I want to do that. I want to experience that. You know what? I thought that preacher was heading, he was a vicar. I thought he was heading in a direction that I was like, oh, here we go. And then he didn't. And I was like, oh my goodness, I actually agree with you. And it was a beautiful experience because I went in prepared not to. And not in the, oh, I'm gonna, but in the, okay, you're doing this and it's you and the Lord, and it doesn't matter if you agree with what the guy says. This isn't the point of going, that kind of thing. But it was a wonderful experience. And if I wasn't a writer, if that wasn't my job, I don't think I'd let myself go just for the fun of going. So yeah, I'm grateful for that trip and for all that I learned and all that I will continue to learn because of that trip. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, when we get to those books, I got lots of stories to tell. It was really a great trip. I'm grateful for authors who write these books. I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It looks like I have 16 new books. It's a thing, guys. It's a thing, but, this one I'm probably not going to read. But, Rosanna's new spy series. Yeah, because yeah. And then there's this one, An American Immigrant. I talked to the author. Actually, I think that's tomorrow's Because Fiction episode. I talked to the author. The story sounds amazing, so I had to have it. And I'm glad that there are authors. I mean, she's Colombian. Their family is Colombian, and it's kind of inspired by her mother's story. And, we think about immigrants, especially Latino immigrants, as being Mexican, coming up from Mexico. And so to get this story, and we get to get this Colombian emphasis, and we get to see that Colombian culture, and oh, by the way, get to see them as something other than a drug cartel. Thank you. Yes, I want that. So I was really excited to see that. Then I have a couple of Suzanne Woods Fisher. I love that woman. Seriously, that's one of the best things about Because Fiction. So, hey, I'm going to throw that in too. I'm grateful for the podcast. I started it because I wanted to talk about books. And then it ended up becoming kind of a mostly interview format where I'm not really interviewing, asking a question and waiting for an answer, and that back and forth, like you're trying to get a job thing. I don't do that. We just talk books. And yes, I ask questions, but I ask questions when I'm just talking with people. So it's just a chat about the books. But when you chat with Suzanne Woods Fisher, she is like the gentlest, sweetest soul. And she is so gracious and just loving, and her absolute passion for embracing the best of the Amish and even like the Quakers and things. She has learned from the plain faiths and just infuses them into works, and she's just beautiful. I mean, Amish fiction isn't my thing, but Suzanne Woods Fisher Amish is definitely my thing. And I think Leslie Gould is going to be another one too, but I don't know. We'll find out. But her heart for the Amish and for embracing the best of it is beautiful. I love that she doesn't idealize them, and yet in her attempts not to idealize them, she doesn't, demonize them either. And there tends to be both sides of that. In a lot of things, they tend to swing, and she manages to find a beautiful blend. But just the faith, when we have a conversation, the discussion of the Lord, it's just wonderful. Let's see, what else do I have down here? That Michael Phillips, Amanda Barrett, her new book, Warsaw Sisters. Amanda Barrett she's so young and she's so on fire and just passionate for what God did during World War II. I love it. Her sister Sarah, who wrote Love Riot, those girls and just their utter love for the Lord, I have so much respect for them, and I'm grateful for them and authors like them who feed God's flock, if you will, by using his word in a picture that we can see and understand. So yeah, I'm grateful for authors. And what is this book? Oh, yeah. Okay. Chesterton. I'm grateful for Chesterton because I'm going to get to know more about him. Let me think. What else am I grateful for book-wise? As an author, I'm grateful for readers. I'm grateful for people who send me those emails and say, hey, your book really touched me. It really encouraged me. Whatever. I'm grateful when they say, hey, I don't understand why you said this. And sometimes it's because it's what I believe. But sometimes it's what I have brothers and sisters in Christ who believe, and I want people to understand what they believe and why. There's one sweet girl, I'll get an email from her every now and then. She's like, I can tell you're still wrestling. I've never been wrestling, but that's okay. She really believes I'm wrestling with, whether or not the Reformed and the predestination and all that is right or not. I know what I believe and I've studied all that. And it's not that I disagree with every bit of it or agree with any of it. I'm not a 5-point Calvinist because I'm not a Calvinist, but that's not the point. The point is I have dear friends and some of my favorite preachers are Reformed. I love their commitment and their passion for what does the word say. It's very expository in their study of the word, and they really look at the whole counsel. I have so much respect. Do I agree with everything? No, but that's okay. They don't agree with me either. Life is good. But this sweet girl, because I have characters who wrestle with it, because I have friends who wrestle with it, she's so convinced that I'm just having trouble, and she sends me these emails to encourage me, and I love it. I have one gal that pretty much every year I get an email, just, have I studied the origins of Christmas and how horrible it is? And, I really need to take a look at it. And it's so sweet. It's like, yes, I have. Trust me, I'm just going to give a little funny thing that people think I'm weird about, but it's what I do. When I want to study something that I disagree with, I tend to do it by trying to prove the opposite side correct. So like is Christmas okay for a Christian to celebrate? I try to prove that it's not, because if I do that, then yes, my bias is still there. Okay, I'm not going to get away from it, but it's a little easier, right? And so, I do those things, but then I've got the readers who sent me pictures of their baptisms, and they're like, this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't read this book. Do I believe that wouldn't have happened? No, I think it probably would have, but I'm really grateful that whatever they read clicked in such a way that it happened now instead of later, right? And so, it's just, I love getting those emails saying, I was having such a hard time and I read this and I realized that I'm not the only one having a hard time. And if God is with a fake character, I know he's with me. And I'm like, yes, because yes. So yeah, I'm grateful as a writer, I'm grateful for readers, and all authors I know, we're grateful for reviews, even the not so good ones. Okay. I have learned more from mine and other authors' not so good reviews than I have from, I love it, it's great, everything she writes is perfect. I've had those reviews, and that's so sweet, and I'm glad they feel that way, but it doesn't help me to do better, Whereas one of the first reviews I got for one of my books, the gals, I had tried to show a progression of someone feeling more comfortable with someone as an adult. So she started off calling him Mr. And by, several episodes in, she was calling him by his first name. And this gal says, this is confusing. I don't understand why this author is doing this. I mean, which guy? Is it a different guy? And I went, oh, I didn't think about it being confusing for the reader and not showing what it went. I went back and changed it all because of what she said. And so I'm, we're grateful for the not so good stuff. Be kind, but be honest. And so, yeah, reviews, totally grateful for those. But I'm also just grateful for people who talk to me about their books, and who talk to me about the book. You've got to read this. I'm grateful for the people that walk up to you in a store and they see you're holding a book and they're like, do you know about that book? Because someone said that this book is like it. And I want to, I'm not good at walking up to a stranger and talking to them. So when a stranger will walk up to me and talk to me, and this seems to be a thing that book people do, it's just so special, because connecting with another book person over a book is like someone said, I can't remember who it was. Was it C.S. Lewis who said that's the best introduction? He said something like that. I know he said something about an introduction that said, oh, you too? I know that, but I feel like somebody said something about when two people like the same book, it's a really good introduction. Anyway, I like that. I like that a lot. So what else am I thankful for? I'm thankful for booktubers. People like Chantal Reads All Day, who, inspired me to even do this, because I was like, yeah, I can talk out my book thoughts and then I can write faster again. I'm coming out of some serious burnout, so I needed everything I could to just get stuff out. But if she hadn't A, encouraged people to do it, but B, just shown that just talking about books is also a great way to enjoy the books. Yeah, and it saves my family from having to listen to mom talk about another book, So, it's just, and don't be wrong, my family, most of them are readers. I have 2 kids that aren't readers. The rest of my kids are readers. But they don't necessarily want to listen to mom yammer on about the unlikely yarn of the dragon lady. They're like, what? So, it's just kind of a thing. But BookTube, people like Chantal and Mitzi and Miriam, sweet Miriam, I love her. There's so many. I'm going to start Katie and Catherine and, oh my goodness, I'm going to forget Krista. There's so many, and I'm just going to forget them all, and so I'm not even going to link them, because I'll end up not linking important people. But I look forward to, Monday morning, I was like, ooh, Chantal should have something. Mitzi will probably have something. Krista might have something. I'm starting to go down the list going, okay, so I don't need to sleep today, because today is wake up and do my thing day. So, it's just, BookTube is pretty awesome. So I'm definitely grateful for BookTube. And I'm grateful for author friends who pray for us. We pray for each other. We bounce ideas off each other. We do collaborations together. Like Kathy Swanson and I have been friends for over 20 years now. And, we started off just talking homeschooling. And then we started, she came here and taught a quilting class. When she lived in Wisconsin, she flew out here back in 2002-ish, somewhere in there. And then we did sewing. We created boutique outfits for eBay for years. And then I started writing, and then she started writing, and then we started this annual Christmas collection. Oh, I got one in. I'm going to show you. Hold on. They just came in the other day. The 8th annual. We've been doing this for 8 years. 4 people every year. And we have 4 books in this thing. But every year we have a Christmas collection. We do these things. The summer heat, I'm not getting up again, but the summer heat, we had 12 authors. We put 4 in each book, and we did this limited run on those versus, romantic suspense. But when we do these things, we don't just all write a book and send it in and we're done. We're spending lots of time praying for each other and working with each other and bouncing ideas off each other. Kathy and I spent a lot of time at her house planning out her book in there. She's got a social influencer who, you know, goes to help some town in Montana, and she's so, it's like total fish out of water, opposites, enemies, all the tropes. And it's hilarious because Kathy is one of the funniest writers ever. Her first book, Snow Angels, my top 5 Christmas novellas of all time. Probably one of my top 5 Christmas books of all time. It is so funny. It's hilarious. She writes quirky old people and realistic situations, and she just uses words in a really neat way. And I get to do this with her every year because this is what authors do. So yeah, I'm grateful for other authors. And I'm grateful for you. Okay, that wasn't planned. And it sounds really cheesy, but I'm serious. You know, you come and you listen and you comment and you encourage me, and I'm really grateful for that. So yeah, grateful for you and for the book suggestions, because I always like a good book suggestion, even if I don't need any more books or anything. Yeah, how you doing? So yeah, I'm gonna stop here because I could go on all night, and I think it's already gone way longer than I intended. Time is it? Maybe not as bad as I thought. We'll see. But what are you grateful for book-wise? I mean, if you start listing off everything you're grateful for, you might as well just give up because you'll never get to end, right? But just book-wise, some of the things, throw something out, because maybe it'll help me be grateful for something I hadn't thought of, you know, help me remember to thank God for it and all the things. So yeah, I will see you with my December TBR and Shedifus decorating video, not Thursday, but next Monday. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and if you're where there isn't a Thanksgiving, well, maybe have a turkey sandwich. We'll be having lots of those, I guarantee it. Anyway, you have a great one.